Hi everyone, it's Leona with Leona's Designs. I'm back with another Scripture Sunday 2025. We are in April and we're focusing on scriptures that have the word life in them. And this is week 15, and our scripture for this week is John chapter 6, verse 35. The words of Jesus. Jesus said to them, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall not hunger, and whoever believes in me shall never thirst. That's John 6:35 in the English Standard Version. And that's the scripture we're working on this week, and I'm working in my art journal. The journal prompts are the color tan. The shape is bread, and the art supply is stickers. And as usual, if you want to use all three prompts, please feel free to go ahead. If you only want to use one or two, that's fine. I am going to use two of them, the color tan and the shape bread. I don't really have any stickers, so I printed out these slices of bread, which have been toasted because I love toast. I got the image on Pixabay. It's a free image. And I printed those out small enough so I could kind of use them as a border here on the right side of my page. I'm using this page from a magazine that I think fits in very well. It's a beautiful rock image, but it's the color of bread, I thought. So I thought it would go well with this week's verse, and then I'm going to cut these out and glue them down. Is my hope to use other scriptures about bread or Jesus being the bread of life. I did find three more scriptures where Jesus said he was the bread of life, and he also said he was the living bread, and he was the bread of God. So I'm going to put those extra scriptures here on each piece of toast. So I'm guessing this is going to be a pretty easy, simple page. I'm just going to write the main verse out here on this rock and kind of use it as a background, as a piece of bread. Somehow maybe cover up that person that's climbing this rock. And then I'm going to glue down each one of these pieces of toast and write the scripture on it. So it's basically pretty simple. Not doing a lot of artwork this week, but I think it's going to make a big impact when it's all done, because this verse is really an awesome verse, talking about Jesus being the bread of life. Bread is looked at as a sustainable food that everyone, could live on bread and water. And so actually in this verse, Jesus is saying he is the bread and the water, because he's saying anyone who believes in me shall never thirst. So he's our food and he's our water. He sustains our life. We need nothing else except him. And whatever we need on this earth, in this life, he will provide. So it's a pretty awesome verse, and it's a great verse to ponder on and memorize and just study. I think it's really a great verse to focus on this week, the bread of life. So let's get started. I'm going to cut out these little pieces of toast, and we'll be back to put them down on the page, and we'll start writing out our verse. So this is my plan. I cut out the 4 little pieces of toast, and on each one of these, I'm going to write a scripture reference that says different things about Jesus being the true bread, the bread of God, the bread of life, and the living bread. And Jesus himself also says that his body is bread. When at the Last Supper he said, "This is my body, which will be given up for you," when he broke the bread. So I've got 4 places here that I can write different scripture references. I won't be able to fit the whole verse in, but I'm going to write true bread, bread of God, bread of life, and living bread. And then my letters that I cut out of magazines spell the bread of life. And then on this sheet of paper, it's kind of a tea-dyed piece of paper. So this week would be a good week to use your tea-dye papers, because they would fit right in with the tan color. And I'm going to use this piece to write out the whole verse of John 6:35. So that's my plan. I think it's going to work. I'm going to start gluing down things now, and I'll be back when I start printing out the verse. All right, I've got everything glued down, and I turned this piece of paper into a slice of bread. I just kind of drew it out compared to these, and I distressed it. So this is what I'm going to write the main scripture, which is John 6:35, and then I'll do the other scripture references on the side. So I'll use this smaller Posca pen to print out the verse. On here, I need something firm to write on. So I will print, Jesus said to them. And I'll just print out this whole verse, and then when I come back, I'll put the scripture references here, and we'll probably be done with this page. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, well, I finished printing out the verse and got it glued down. Really happy with how it turned out. And I added the other scriptures to these little pieces of toast. And I really love the page. It's very inspiring to me. And it's something that I can ponder on this week as we think about life and Jesus being the bread of life. And not only the bread of life, but he's the true bread come down from heaven, the bread of God, and the living bread. So it's something to think about this week. Maybe as you eat a piece of bread this week, give thanks to him for being the bread of life, and look up these different scriptures and study them and memorize them, ponder on them. And I hope you were inspired by this and maybe make your own piece of art from these scriptures. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate everyone who subscribes to this channel and watches my videos. I hope that you are inspired and that you will continue visiting each week as I bring you these scriptures for Scripture Sunday 2025. Hope to see you next week. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.